Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I'm a little bit late. Okay, this is a Maamar. It's called Matzo. This Matzo. The Rabbi said, Tafshim Em Tef, year 5749, which is 1989. The Rabbi said this Maamar. You can actually download this Maamar on Simply Chassidus. If you have a computer, you can download this Maamar, or you can look at the Maamar on simplychassidus.com, and you scroll down the screen, you find this Maamar. It's called Matzo. This Matzo. The Rebbe said this Maamar the night following Yud Gimel Nisan, the Yortzeit of the Tzemach Tzedek, which is the night Yud Daled Nisan, which is the night of Yud Daled Nisan, the birthday of the Rambam, in the year 5749, 1989. This Maamar is based on the statement of the Agada, which explains why we eat matzah on the night of Pesach. Why do we eat matzah? Right? So he brings down the Agada. It says, Matzah zu shana ichlim. The Agada says, Matzah zu shana ichlim al shumma. We say in the Agada, Matzah zu, this matzah that we eat, why do we eat it? Matzah zu shana ichlim al shumma. Good morning, everybody. Matzah zu shana ichlim. I'm learning a mind before coffee, so Matzah zu shana ichlim al shumma. Why do you eat this matzah? So we answer in the Haggadah. In the Haggadah, we answer, why do we eat this matzah? Al shum shlei hisvik b'tzeka shalaveseinu lahachmitz. We eat it because the dough of our forefathers didn't have time to rise. Ad shenigel aleim melech malcham lochem, until the King of Kings revealed himself to them and redeemed them from Egypt. So that's the reason why we eat the matzah. The matzah that we eat, because it didn't have time for the dough to rise, and God revealed himself and took him out of Mitzrayim. On a simple level, that God is telling us that we eat matzah on the night of Pesach because the Jews had started making bread in Mitzrayim. They started to make bread, right? They were making bread in Egypt for some reason. They were making bread. All the Jews were making bread in Mitzrayim, and the dough didn't have time to rise because they left. So as they were making their bread, they were chased out of Egypt. So since they didn't have time for the dough to rise, because they were pasha chased out of Egypt, and they took seemingly their bread with them, not going to leave the bread in Egypt, right? They took everything out of Egypt. So they put their bread on their backs, and they ran out of Egypt. And because they didn't have time for the bread to rise, we eat matzah. Therefore, their only option was to bake unleavened bread matzah after they left Mitzrayim. So they went out of Mitzrayim. So they were running out of Mitzrayim. It didn't have time to rise. So they just baked it as unleavened bread. So that's what it sounds like. Oh, that's you say in Haggadah, that we didn't have time because we had to leave Mitzrayim. So there was not enough time for them to sit and if you make bread today, you have to let the bread rise. The bread has to rise. It has to become fluffy, and then you bake the bread. So for a time, you need like a good half an hour between the time you make the dough to the time you bake the dough, because you need the dough to rise. They didn't have time for the dough to rise. So they went out of Mitzrayim, they were being chased out of Mitzrayim, they had to make unrisen dough. And they had to do this as dough that was not risen. However, this doesn't seem to be the actual reason for this mitzvah. While the Jews were still in Mitzrayim, Hashem commanded them to bring the Korban Pesach and to eat it together with matzah. What is it? We know all that God told the Jews to eat matzah in Mitzrayim. God told the Jews to eat matzah. We know that God told the Jews to eat matzah in Mitzrayim. It says openly that the night of Pesach, you should come together with your families and you should eat matzah and morer. Al matzo morer yachlu. You should eat the Korban Pesach and matzah morer. So you see already that the Jewish people ate matzah in Mitzrayim. Therefore, the reason why we eat matzah is because the Jewish people, the Jews in Mitzrayim, were given the mitzvah to eat matzah on the night of Pesach. So the question is, do we eat matzah because we're going out of Mitzrayim? Or do we eat matzah because we ate it in Mitzrayim? So why is the Agada say that we eat matzah due to the latest circumstance reason? The fact that the dough didn't have time to rise. So why do we actually say, Hey Lachmanya, the Cholav Asad Baras Mitzrayim. In the beginning of the Agada, we say openly, this is the bread of affliction that our Jewish people ate in Mitzrayim. Then we come to the end of the Haggadah, this statement of matzah zu sha'ana eichlim. This matzah that we eat, why do we eat it? Because it didn't have time enough to rise, is at the end of the Haggadah. So the beginning of the Haggadah you say one thing, the end of the Haggadah you say something else. Why do we eat the matzah? Why are we going to eat this matzah? Is it because the Jewish people ate it in Mitzrayim, or is it because the Jewish people ate it on the way out of Mitzrayim? There has to be either one. So commentators on the Haggadah offer various answers to this question. According to Nigla, the revealed dimensions of Torah, this is a known question. It's openly in the Haggadah question. You don't have to go Chassidus. It's open Haggadah. As I said, you open Haggadah in one way, you end the Haggadah in another way. There has to be a reason why we would start the Haggadah in one reason and end the Haggadah in another reason. However, the previous Rabbeim, starting from the Alter Rebbe, offered a deeper explanation according to Chassidus. So we're going to learn. We're not going to give you an answer according to Nikola. You can go and look it up. We're going to give you an answer according to Chassidut. So the Alter Rebbe explains that when the Torah states the mitzvah to eat matzah, which happens before midnight, which was in the time of the plague of the firstborn, right? That was the first reason. The Torah tells a Jew that he has to eat matzah while he's still in Mitzrayim. He's obligated to eat matzah before midnight. Not only is he obligated to eat matzah, he's obligated to eat matzah before midnight. Right? The Jewish, that's what we do. The first night of the Seder, we eat matzah before midnight. Right? The second night we can go after midnight. The first night we all eat matzah. We're supposed to eat afikomen before midnight. Why? Because that's what happened the first Pesach. God asked the Jewish people to eat matzah before midnight. So right, and we know the Jewish people went to the Mitzrayim the next day. They actually left Egypt the next day. They went out in the daytime. They were not chased out in the middle of the night. They went out in the middle of the day. So before midnight, which is the time of the plague of the firstborn, spells the word matzah without the letter vav. So we see another interesting concept. That when we talk about the matzah they ate in Egypt, it says the word matzah. The Maamar brings down the pasuk. The verse says, "Barishon ba'ba'as yom lachodesh ba'erev." On the 14th day of the month in the evening, toichlu matzos. You should eat matzos. This word matzos is missing a letter vav. It's mem tzadik sof. We're missing in this verse of vav. Ad yom ha'echad ve'esem lachodesh ba'erev, until the 21st day in the evening. However, when you go to the pasuk which describes what the Torah said, what the reason the end of the Haggadah, The Torah, the Torah, when you look at the pasuk of the Torah, however, when described the matzah that the Jewish people baked on their way out of Mitzrayim after midnight, it spells the word matzah with the letter vav. It says, the verse says, "Vayafu espetzek asher yitzim Mitzrayim." They baked the dough which they had taken out of Mitzrayim as matzos. Ugois matzos. Over there it says matzos, it's mem tzadik vav saf. There's a vav. So not only is there two reasons in the Torah itself, but the first reason it says without a vav. And the second place where it says that they are going out of Egypt, they eat matzah because we went out of Egypt, it says with a vav. Because it wasn't chum, because they were chased out of Egypt. And it couldn't rise. The Gamtzei de Leosam didn't make any other provisions. The letter Vav, so what's the letter? What is the reason why in the first pasuk it says with the letter Vav, and without the letter Vav, before going out of Egypt, it doesn't say the letter Vav, and after going out of Egypt, what the reason of not after going, while they're going out of Egypt, it says the letter Vav. This is Alter Rebbe asked this question, and Alter Rebbe says, the letter Vav is formed by starting with a Yud. When you write the letter Vav, a Sefer likes the letter Vav, and a scribe likes the letter Vav. He starts with the Yud, and then he comes down with the line on the bottom. So it's a Yud Vav. It's a Yud and a line. Starting with the Yud, and then draws down from the Yud, he comes down the letter Vav. Siddur explains that the Vav has this shape because it represents the drawing down. Vav is the concept of the connection. Vav is considered a connector. In a simple Hebrew, the letter Vav is and. Ani ve'ata. So Vav is the connector. Vav is the and. You and I. So also the letter Vav, because why was it a connector? Because the letter Vav is that concept. It's the way something comes from above to below. Vav is what connects these two concepts. Of the initial revelation of godness represent in the Yud into creation. So the letter Yud, the Yud Nivra, in the name of God, and the letter Yud, God created the world. Yud is Chachma. Letter Yud is wisdom, is symbolic for the concept of wisdom, and from the wisdom it comes down into understanding. The Alter Rebbe explains why only the post-midnight matzah is written with the letter Vav. The commandment to eat the matzah stated that the matzah should be eaten before midnight, together with the Korban Pesach. At this time, the Jews were still in Mitzrayim, and it was before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, revealed Himself to them. So here the Jewish people are in Gullus. When the Jewish people are in Gullus, they're in exile. Therefore, since the matzah was eaten before the drawing down of godliness into the world at midnight, the Torah wrote the word matzah without the letter Vav. So the Jewish people were in Mitzrayim, they were in exile, they were in the concept of Gullus, they were missing this connection. Gullus, in general, exile means I'm missing a connection. I'm missing a connection. Therefore, since I'm missing this connection, I'm missing the letter Vav. However, the pasuk which describes the matzah which they baked and they ate after they left Mitzrayim, that took place after midnight, took place the next day, which was after revelation of God. As it says, God came and revealed Himself to the Jewish people. And they went out of Mitzrayim. Galiv le'malach, saying, God, I took you out of Mitzrayim. I am not even an angel, not even through a messenger, but me, I myself took you out of Egypt. So you had to receive revelation. They had the revelation of godliness, which took them out of Mitzrayim. So you had a concept of a connection to God. So that's why you have the letter Vav. So in essence, you have two different periods of time when a Jew did something that God asked him to do. One time, they were still in the depth of Gullus, which they were missing in a way a revelation of godliness. It was before their God revealed himself. They did it from themselves in a way because they were commanded. And the second time is when the Jewish people left Egypt. There they had this connection. They had this revelation. And once they had this revelation, they had the letter Vav. Therefore, the pasuk, the word matzah is written with a Vav, with the letter Vav. This difference between the pre-midnight and post-midnight matzah also explains another change in the way the psukim describe these two matzahs. When describing the pre-midnight matzah, Hashem tells the Jews to guard the matzah and prevent it from becoming chametz. We find an interesting expression when God tells the Jewish people about the matzah before going out of Mitzrayim, the matzah, eating the matzah while in Mitzrayim, God says as follows, the pasuk says. The pasuk says, "Shmartem es hamatzos." You should be careful with these matzahs. Because in the daytime I'll take you out of Mitzrayim. And you should protect this day forever. You have to watch the matzah that you're going to eat on the night of the first night of Pesach. Be very careful with that matzah. However, describing the post-midnight matzah, when the Torah talks about how the matzah became a matzah, when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, which was after midnight, next day, it says, "Vayafu es habetzak asher heitzi Mitzrayim ugus matziki lechametz." That in essence they baked the dough that they had taken out of Mitzrayim as matzahs, for it had not leavened. That means in essence it did not leaven by itself. Before going out of Egypt, while they were still in Mitzrayim before midnight, right? That if they wanted to eat it by midnight, they had to make the matzah and bring the korban pesach and everything had to be prepared while the day of the 14th. That's also why Pesach starts midday of the 14th, because throughout history, Jewish people would bring a korban pesach not on the 15th; they're bringing it on the 14th, by day, after midday. So that's why till today, even though Pesach starts on the 14th at night, no, but we start Pesach earlier. We're not allowed to eat the chametz from the 5th hour, and the difference between the 5th hour and the 6th hour of the day. Pesach starts earlier. It's like 11 o'clock. I don't have a calendar right now, but 11, 12 o'clock, you're not allowed to eat chametz anymore. Even though it's still on the 14th by day. Why? Because the truth is, we started already throughout history, Pesach on the 14th already. And so too they started in Mitzrayim itself. They started already preparing the matzah and the maror and the korban Pesach already the 14th. So that they needed to be finished, everything, by the 14th at night, by midnight, everything had to be done. And the Torah tells you better make sure that if you want to have matzah for the 14th night, you better make sure it's not chametz. Because if you're not going to make sure that it's not chametz, it's going to become chametz. That means on its own, it can become chametz. Then on the 15th, then what happened the next day, the 15th day, the Misabi were making more bread to eat, right? Because they ate the matzah bread of yesterday. Now they were making more dough to eat. And what happened? They were chased out of Mitzrayim, and the thing on its own didn't become chametz. Ki loy chametz. It didn't have chance to rise. They had this dough that they were baking for bread for the 15th, and now they didn't have time to rise. Pesach then, the first year actually, the first Pesach was only one day. The Doire Sechem is 7 days. But in the first Pesach was 1 day. 1 day was Pesach. The next day they were baking dough. You can't do that today. You can't bake dough today. He loy chametz because the chametz it didn't become chametz. He gosh Mitzrayim because they were thrown to Mitzrayim v'lo yachla sameya, and it didn't have time to wait. The Gam say the Aslam didn't make any other provisions. So when the dough rises, it becomes inflated. What's the concept of dough rising? The dough rises is it becomes inflated. It comes puffed up. Which what does that show in general? What does it show? A concept of inflated dough. When you is the concept of gaiva, is the aspect of ego. So with the fruit of pride, the negative is which represents the negative attribute of pride. Chametz represents gaiva. That's a general concept. Chametz represents gaiva. Actually, chametz and matzah have the same letters. Chametz and matzah they don't have the same letters. Ches, mem, tzadik, matzah, just the ches. Chametz rises, and matzah instead of the ches has a hey. They have the same letters, but besides the ches, by matzah is a hey. What's the difference? The difference is that the ches is three decks together, and the hay has like this little opening on the top. So the ches is connected, and the hay has an opening on top. So the ches only the opening is to the downwards, and the hay has a little opening on top to go upwards. So an egotistical person only goes downwards, and a person who has bittul, which is matzah, has the capability of going higher. It says, a person runs after honor, well, honor runs away from him. A person that runs away from honor runs toward him. So a person that actually has ego only goes down. A person that has bittul, that has humility, will continue to go higher and higher. So the root of pride is the attribution of one's own good qualities, to attribute one's own good qualities to one's self. That's gaiva. Gaiva is when I attribute my success, I attribute my greatness, my pride, not to something else, but to myself. Pharaoh said, I have the Nile and I made it. The power of my own hand, I have made everything. That is pride. Pride is not that that I'm lying to myself, that I have qualities, that I have certain greatness, certain successes, but I attribute it totally to myself. I say my success is totally myself. I have done this, it belongs to me. That is gaiva. You have the Mishnah. It says, Shali, Shali, V'shalach, Shalach. What is mine is mine. What is yours. That is midas doim. That's a terrible attribute. Why? Because in essence, the guy says, what is mine is mine. You have nothing to do with it. Nobody has nothing to do with it. It's totally selfish. That is gaiva. Humility is that a guy understands his greatness. A guy understands his success, but he says that this success is not only mine. This success is not only because of myself. I've been successful because of God, because of others. If I, in simple terms, if I didn't have certain parents, if I wasn't sent to a certain education, if I wasn't brought up in a certain way, maybe I wouldn't have had the successes. So it's not only, I can't attribute my success only to myself. That is the difference between chametz and matzah. So chametz and matzah is not lying to oneself. No, both are saying the truth. One is attributing all his success to himself. One is attributing to also to somebody else, which over here is one is attributing it to God in a way. He realizes that birchas Hashem hitashe, as the pasuk says, the blessing of God makes somebody successful. So that's the difference. That is basically the difference between humility and ego. That's why it can be sometimes very difficult. It can be a very thin line to be able to separate these two concepts. And we fall into the trap. We all fall into the trap of negative ego, because there is a positive ego. We all have to have ego in a way, but we all have to have a humilified ego. That we realize we're successful. We realize we are great. You're a chosen nation. You're a chosen entity. But you realize you're chosen because somebody chose you. So you realize that it's only given to you as a gift. That's why it's brought down that Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person. Because Moshe Rabbeinu knew who he was. He knew that he was the leader of the Jewish nation. He knew that he was the one who had to teach the nation the Torah, because he was the one who had the capability to receive the entire Torah, so he knew exactly who he was. But because he was humble, he had the capability to give. If he was egotistic, if he had any ego, he would hold things back for himself. Moshe kibel Torah Sinai. Moshe received the Torah from Sinai. Umasara, he gave over everything. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the ultimate conduit. That he had the capability to give over everything to the Jewish nation. Because he had bittul. Because he realized whatever he received and what his greatness that he had was given to him by God. And as the Gemara expresses itself, that Moshe Rabbeinu would say to a Jew that that if God would give you this greatness, maybe you'd be better than me. I was given these tools. I was given this Torah, this godliness, so I should transmit it to somebody else. So that's the concept of bittul. On a deeper level, denying the fact that Hashem is a true existence. This mistake is only possible when Hashem conceals himself from creation, which enables creation to perceive itself as an independent from him. So the Eibishter, that's Gullus. Gullus. When we're in Gullus, we're in exile, we become egotistical. Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people before going into Eretz Yisrael, you're going to come into the land of Israel, you're going to conquer the land, you're going to take possession of the land, and you're going to get fat, and you're going to kick. Why kick me? Kick God, because you're going to forget the Creator. You're going to fall into creation, and you're going to. And God will have to remind us from time to time that relax. You're in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're in the hands of God. This is the concept, what we need to do on our own. We shouldn't have to have God to remind us that we're in His hand. We should come to that realization ourselves. To remind ourselves that we are Biyad Hashem. We are in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are in His hands. Therefore, before Hashem's true unity was revealed at midnight. So that's the difference. The Jewish people, that's the secret concept of Gullus. As the Alter Rebbe writes, the secret aspect of Gullus is, you want to know the true concept of Gullus? Gullus is to be hidden. that godliness is hidden. We have a concept of godliness that is hidden, that we cannot see the revelation openly. And Geula, the aspect of redemption, is revelation. And the truth is, you can be in Galus and have Geula. Because that's all you need to do, is to have a little bit of revelation. To be able to realize, even in Galus, that there's a concept of Geula. There's an aspect of Geula. But the difference is, in Galus takes avodah. In Galus itself takes an avodah, takes a service, and it takes work. While in Geula, when God reveals Himself, then God does it. And now we understand the difference between before midnight and after midnight. The Jewish people reach the level of bittul, which is needed to guard it from the attribute of pride. So before Gulos Mitzrayim, before they went out of action of Egypt, they were commanded bittul. They were commanded to take a sheep that was the god of Egypt, to hold it in their house for 4 days. And as the Gemara, the Talmud says, when the Egyptian asked them, what are you doing with a sheep in your house? They would say, because we're going to shech the sheep. We're going to bring it the carbon. Imagine, slaves in Egypt telling Egyptians that they're going to take their god and they're going to bring it as a carbon, as a sacrifice. This took a lot of bittul. This took a lot of guts. This took a lot of self-sacrifice that a Jew would do that. And then they shechted it on that day. In Golus Mitzrayim, in Mitzrayim, they sat down and they had a Seder. They sat down to a Seder. In Mitzrayim. So they sat on a Seder while they were still in Golus. They ate matzah. They ate maror. They ate a carbon Pesach. And they did what they were supposed to do. But since there was not a revelation of God at that time, they had to make sure to watch their dough. They had to make sure to watch their ego. They had to make sure that their bittul, that they're doing, stays true. Because it's easy in a time of gullus, in the time of where there is no light yet, to become egotistical very quickly. So therefore, they had to make sure that the dough would not rise. They had to make sure that their bittul would stay and would continue. Their humility would never break. It was not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing today to have bittul. You can say, I have bittul. I have humility. Until somebody touches me wrong, and then my humility breaks. We're very easily frazzled as humans. We have humility to a certain limit. The second something doesn't fit into this humility, my humility, which I understand as humility, somebody embarrasses me, somebody pushes me the wrong way, boom. My humility goes out the window for some reason. Why? Because I need to work on this humility. Even though I have humility, it's fragile. My humility is fragile. And therefore, why? Because we're in Gullus. So my humility is something that I've done on my own, because God has asked me to be humble. But as we say every morning, before in the morning prayer, Al Tivein Dein Esayin. Please God, don't give me a test. Don't push I don't want anybody to push my wrong buttons. I don't want to push my wrong button myself. I don't want God to push the wrong buttons that I have. Because I'm having a good day. I woke up to do everything right. I'm humble. I'm serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boom. And then I'll meet the wrong person. or somebody's gonna call me up, or something's gonna happen to me, and boom, I'm gonna forget this humility for some reason. So I need to make sure that my matzah, my bittul, shmaitim es hamatzos. I gotta make sure that this bittul stays the way it is. That my humility, my ego, is always in check. So that's the mitzvah. So you have to guard that the Jews reached the level of bittul, which they needed to guard from the attribute of pride. This was also reflected in the physical dough. The dough needed to be guarded. Shmaitim es hamatzos. They had to physically guard this dough from becoming chametz, which is pride, because Hashem's presence was not yet revealed in creation. And when you don't have a gilui lakus, when we don't have revelation of godliness, because we are in galus, we have to be careful with our gaiva. We have to be careful with our pride. We have to be careful even with our humility. We have to make sure that the humility that we have continues to stay. However, after Hashem revealed himself within creation, after there was gilui lakus, the Eibishter came down, and he took the Jews out of Mitzrayim. He revealed himself. There was no longer any possibility to make such a mistake. It was obvious that Hashem was the only true reality. How was it possible to go out of Mitzrayim? You might sit in Mitzrayim. You might sit together, celebrate going out of Mitzrayim, but you're still in Mitzrayim. We celebrate every year going out of Mitzrayim. We say, L'shon haba b'Yerushalayim. Year to come. Right? Some people saying it for 50 years. In the year to come, we'll be. Because we're still in Gullus. We say, Ashat Avdin. We are today here, L'shon haba b'Aret Yisrael. In the year to come, we'll be in the land of Israel. In the land of Israel. We are still Ashat Avdin, L'shon haba b'nei Chedim. Now we are slaves. In the year to come, we'll be free people. So we're still slaves. We're still in Gullus. Once you have gilui lakus, you have the revelation of God, everybody's going to know the truth. You can't have ego in the face of truth. When you have truth, everybody is put in their place. You see that in the story of Yosef. When Yosef reveals himself to his brothers, and he says, Ani Yosef. What is there else to say? Everything falls apart. The whole derushes and the whole arguments and the whole struggle that the brothers had with Yosef comes to an end in the face of truth. That's why it says, Anech Hashem Elokecha. When the Eibishter said also, like Yosef, Ani Yosef, the Eibishter said, Anech Hashem Elokecha, revelation of God to the Jews, everything is bottled. They physically, they passed out. Parchon Nishmasam. Their souls wanted to become one with God. That's really the essence of Parchon Nishmasam, that their souls left their body. Because when God revealed himself, the soul wanted to become one with HaKadosh Baruch. The greatness of Geula, of Mashiach, is that when God's going to reveal himself to the world, it's not going to be Parchon Nishmasam. We're not going to go and have all pass out. We're not going to all die like the Jewish people died when God revealed himself at Matan Torah. We're not going to do that because our bodies are going to be hopefully much more rectified than the Jewish people who went out of Mitzrayim. Because they were not ready. Their guf, the Gashmish was not ready. Now, through the Avodah of Gullus, thousands of years of Jew history, the body, the guf, has become rectified. And the guf, the physicality, we have changed the physicality. So the physicality is ready for revelation of godliness. As it says, God will eradicate impurity from the world. So then, if you eradicate impurity from the world, which impurity is gaiva. When you ask a question, what is the ego? It's like an impure thing. It's nothing. An impure thing is really nothing. It's an inflated concept. Because really, an impure, a pure thing is something that is missing purity. So if you in the highest level of impurity is a person that passes away because his godly soul left him. So now we don't live in an empty vacuum. When you take out the godliness from the entity, you have impurity. Purity has to come in. When you go to sleep at night, since it's brought down that the majority of your neshama leaves you, so therefore there needs to be there's an empty space, and therefore impurity comes within you, and therefore when you wake up in the morning you have to wash negavasa. Why? Because your neshama wants to come back in your body, so you have to take away the impurity. That's why it says when you wake up in the morning, even though this is early in the morning, we gotta get up and learn. Make sure the second you wake up, not that we put inside the body impurity. No, put purity in the body. Wake up, go to shul, learn, daven. So make sure the second you get up, that your guf, your body, your gashmis, already has the purity put into it, godliness put into it. If you take a vessel and you fill it with godliness, now it will be more difficult to put in impurity. But if you start off your day with impurity and you fill your vessel with impure concepts, then it's very difficult to push in purity, to push in godliness. Why? Because we live with impurity. We live with sheker. We live with a false concept. The world can give us the feeling that it has its own identity. And it's not a vessel for godliness. It has its own purpose. There's a godly purpose, and there's a worldly purpose. It's not negative, nothing, any sins over here. It's just a worldly purpose. And the Torah comes to tell us no, that the worldly purpose is to put into it a godly entity, a kedusha, a concept of holiness within this physical purpose. So that is the bittul. So once the revelation of God is revealed, the emes is revealed. What means the truth is revealed? The purpose is revealed. So now everything becomes secondary. Whatever I thought was real becomes irrelevant. Whatever I thought was secondary becomes totally relevant. Right? We're living in a time today that God shows the world. I'm the one who controls the world, not you. I'm the one who is gonna tell you what to do and what not to do, and how to live your lives. So powerful. Such a powerful teaching, what we're going through today. And I only hope that humanity learns from this experience. That we as humans learn from it. We were taught humility. We're being taught we're being taught humility. Right? You can have all this greatness, you can have all this, but it's taken away from you. You can have all this beauty in life, but now you're not allowed to have it. It's a very humbling experience. This is an extremely humbling experience. I say for myself, it's a humbling experience. So we need to realize, we need to bring this whole experience within our lives to realize we shouldn't have God to press upon us this humbling experience. We should be humble. And then when we come back to what we're going to call normal, I don't know what's going to be the new normal. We're going to have hopefully have all humility a little bit. We'll have the greatness, but in a humble way. We'll be more giving and more sharing and more caring. because it's obvious now. Hopefully it's obvious to us the importance of each other. We took it for granted, this importance of our relationship. We took it for granted the importance of our relationship with each other. We took for granted the important relationship between us and God. We took for granted the world. We took for granted the world. And we can't. And we shouldn't. We should cherish the world. We should cherish each other. We should cherish our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that means we should have both worlds, but in the right perspective, in the right way. And that takes Shemitah still. That takes, before coming of Mashiach, we'll still take the concept of where the Torah says you need to watch this dough. You need to make sure that the dough does not rise. That even though you have humility, you brought about this concept within your lives, but make sure that it's still not obvious. Totally obvious. There's no atheist in a foxhole, as they say. Everybody becomes religious in jail. There's no atheist in a foxhole. Every person becomes sick. God forbid, he suddenly is begging God. We need to beg God every day, whether we're sick or we're healthy. We need to ask God that He gives us the Fe'enu Hashem. We say it every day, the Fe'enu Hashem. Now we understand, hopefully we understand the bracha more. We understand His blessing better than we ever understood the blessing. The Fe'enu Hashem in for the Eibush to give us healing. The Eibush needs to heal us. He needs to heal the world. Baruch Aleinu. Shashana Azois. The Eibush God needs to give us these blessings. He needs to give us success financially. He needs to give us healing, that we are healthy, and He needs to give us financial success. He needs to give the world financial success. Chas shalom. There are people that are unhealthy. There are people that are losing their parnasa. It's a terrible situation. People are in need of. We need to pray to the Eibishter. If we all need to pray to God. Even though we're separate, we can't pray in the shul. We still need to pray to the Eibishter. The Fe'enu Hashem. The Eibishter needs to heal us. Needs to heal the world. There are hundreds of people that are extremely sick. There are thousands of people sick. There are thousands of Jews right now that are extremely sick, and we need to turn to God and say, "Yefainu." They don't even have a cure. The Eibush needs to heal us. It's not a joke. And then there are people that are healthy that are losing their parnasa, losing their livelihood. And we need the Eibush to help us. Baruch Aleinu. Two very important blessings we should all have in mind these days in Shemona Esrei. That God should heal the world and God should bless us all. Should give everybody their parnasa. Because of people that are healthy, that are not going to have parnasa, are also going to be extremely in pain. There's going to be those that are physically in pain. And there are those that are going to be extremely mentally in pain. And we need to care about it. We need to care for these people. And we need to realize that we need to turn to the Eibishter. We need to turn to God. That He should help us. And we need to help them. We need to care for those that are sick. And we need to care for those that are going through problems financially. And they are losing their jobs. We need to care for them. So we hope a day that there will be Gilui Lakus. That's our dream. That we're going to rectify ourselves. We're going to watch our matzah. We're going to watch our ego so much until we're going to merit that there's going to be Gilui Lakus, because our physicality, our guf, will be ready. We have rectified our guf. We have watched our ego. We have kneaded the dough. We had made sure that even in these times, we're not going to let our ego get the best of us. And that's going to rectify our body, our own gashmis, our own character, and will merit through the rectification of our own character, which will bring us to a higher level, which will make us more godly, which will make us more pure. And that will bring about that through our own purity, will bring about the revelation of godliness in the world, the Geula. Because we'll show God that we are ready for the aspect of revelation to the world. We are ready for God to reveal himself to the world. And we can tell the Eivishter, now is the time. Now is the time. We asked actually in our davening for the concept of Geula. We ask him. That after we ask God for Rafeinu, not only for ourselves, as fathers, and after we ask God for Baruch Aleinu, that the God should give us success, nobody should be in pain, not physically, not mentally, and financially. We can go to God and say we are ready for the concept of V'tzachazena Eineinu B'shuv Cholatzim B'rachman, which is the aspect that we can see godliness in the world, the aspect of Gula, we can have the revelation of truth. We are capable, we are ready for the concept of truth, because we have actually worked on this aspect of emes, on ourselves, and through the working of truth on ourselves, we're ready that God should reveal a greater level of truth that we didn't. That is the level of truth that we didn't even work on. So you have Asusa de la Tata through awakening from above. You have Asusa de Leila awakening from awakening below. You have Asusa de Leila awakening from above. So let's finish off this paragraph, which emanates from the possibility to have a pride and ego. This is reflected in the physical dough as well, as it's impossible for the dough to become chametz. As chametz, pride, can exist when Hashem's presence is revealed within creation. We're going to end it right now. Today, we're going to come back. It's not a long maamar. We're going to come back on Friday, and we're going to continue this maamar and hopefully finish it very shortly. I want to wish you all a good day, a happy day. May God heal the world. May God bring the world back to even better than it was before. And let's hope we'll merit to the coming of Mashiach and going out of Gullus and the revelation of godliness in the world, and we'll hopefully merit that B'mheira B'yameinu Mamish today. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.